Yo, what is going on, everyone? My name is Nick, or The Notorious Fantasy, and in today's video, we're going to be going in depth into my week number 17 quarterback start or sit decisions. But before we could get into things, I would like to ask that if you guys are new to the channel and you do end up enjoying today's video, that you please make sure to hit that subscribe button down below, as well as hitting that like button. It would help me out a ton. If you want to follow me on Twitter, please do so at NotoriousFNTSY. Today's video is being brought to you guys by DraftKings Sportsbook. We're going to be talking about a little bit later. So without further ado, let's get into my week number 17 quarterback start or sit decisions. We begin with Thursday Night Football, an electrifying matchup between the Dallas Cowboys and the Tennessee Titans in Tennessee. Malik Willis is a sit because, if I'm being completely honest with you, Malik Willis looks like Stevie Wonder in the pocket. The guy cannot read an NFL defense. They try to run the rock gently down the stream, and it doesn't work when you don't have Derrick Henry. Malik Willis has been an absolute disaster ever since he's had to fill in multiple times this season for Ryan Tannehill, and there is no way, even though the Dallas Cowboys defense has been a little bit limp as of recently, there's no way I'm playing Malik Willis. Dak Prescott is a start, but it is a little bit concerning how much this team has relied upon the run. Now, it is up in the air right now as I'm recording today's video if Tony Pollard is going to end up playing or not tonight, but ultimately this is still a team that can run the rock effectively, even if Ezekiel Elliott is the only running back or the main running back active on the team if Tony Pollard ends up missing. I think Dak Prescott should have a pretty decent game, but it is very hard to have top 5 hopes for Dak Prescott in most matchups just because of how much that they end up running the ball. We move to the Sunday games, beginning with the Arizona Cardinals at the Atlanta Falcons, and we are going to keep this one incredibly simple. Desmond Ridder hasn't looked terrible, but at the end of the day, do you want to put your fantasy championship hopes on the backs of Desmond Ridder? The answer is fuck no, baby. Desmond Ridder is going to be on the bench, even though the Arizona Cardinals defense is far from ideal. The Atlanta Falcons just love to run the rock at an incredibly high rate. Whether they're up in the game by 24 points, which I don't even think we've ever seen this season out of the Falcons, or they're losing by 24. Their MO is to run the ball at an incredibly high rate, and up against the Cardinals, that should be able to work pretty swimmingly. Colt McCoy is going to be under center in this game for the Arizona Cardinals, and honestly, he is just slightly better than Trace McSorley. Colt McCoy isn't really all that good at all, and it kind of sucks if you had DeAndre Hopkins or Hollywood Brown for fantasy football. James Conner should be just fine, but ultimately Colt McCoy as well as Desmond Ridder need to be on your bench. Next up, we move to the Chicago Bears at the Detroit Lions. Jared Goff has been relatively solid all season long. We have seen a couple of down games out of him, but ultimately the Chicago Bears defense is far from ideal, and this could be a game where Jared Goff looks to go surgical and absolutely torches the Chicago Bears defense. I love Jared Goff in this spot, and speaking of loving spots, Justin Fields is a quarterback that I love this week as well. Definitely has top 3 upside. Now, I know last week up against the Buffalo Bills, he ends up shitting the bed in a big way, but this week I think it is comeback, it is bounce back season for Justin Fields up against a not so hot Lions defense. We just saw the Lions get ran a train on by Chuba Hubbard and Donta Foreman. Imagine what Justin Fields is going to do. Justin Fields probably has a wet dream on Saturday thinking about the fact that he's about to go to Pound Town up against the Detroit Lions defense. So I love Justin Fields here in this spot. Next up, we move to the Jacksonville Jaguars at the Houston Texans. Davis Money Mills. If you play in a league that gives you extra points for the amount of inches on the neck of your quarterback, then Davis Mills is a must start because this motherfucker looks like Jeffrey the Giraffe from Toys R Us, the mascot. But at the end of the day, Davis Mills is obviously a sit. I know the Jacksonville Jaguars defense is far from ideal, but there is no way in hell you're going to be caught dead playing Davis Mills. This week, Trevor Lawrence has been on fire, NBA Jam style, and I've been talking about this all year long. When players catch that flame, when they start to be on fire, when they start to play incredibly well, we continue to ride the train until the metaphorical wheels fall off. So Trevor Lawrence has been super hot. This week he plays up against one of the worst defenses in the NFL. You are going to start him with supreme confidence. Next up, we move to the Denver Broncos at the Kansas City Chiefs in a probably going into this year. I've talked about this in every video, the running back and the wide receiver video. But it's hilarious how going into the year, when I was looking at week 17 matchups, I was like, holy cannoli, we get to see, holy cannoli as if I'm some fucking, I don't even know what would be the joke there, but I was like, ooh, Mahomes versus Russell Wilson. This could be a barn burner, incredibly high scoring, back and forth, rock'em sock'em robots affair. And in reality, it's just going to be Patrick Mahomes laying a dump on the chest of the Denver Broncos. I think Patrick Mahomes should go off this week. It should be easy. Even though the Denver Broncos defense is one of the best in the NFL against the pass, I don't really care. We just saw Baker Mayfield light him up like a Christmas tree, so I fully expect a great game out of Patrick Mahomes, but you probably didn't need me to tell you that for you to start Patrick Mahomes. Russell Wilson, Mr. Unlimited, has been such a disgrace that it seemed like, if I read those videos correctly, from what I got from those videos that I saw on Twitter, it seems like the Denver Broncos team wants Brett Rippon to start. It seems like there was a bit of a kind of civil war almost on the sideline for the Denver Broncos last week. It seems like the team is sick and tired of Russell Wilson. They ended up firing Nathaniel Hackett. Who knows if Hackett is the reason why this team's been failing, if it's Russell Wilson, if it's a little bit of both, who really knows? Ultimately, though, there's no way you're starting Russell Wilson this week, even though the Chiefs' defense is pretty mid. Next up, we got my Miami Dolphins going up against the New England Patriots in a must-win game for both of these teams in Foxborough. Sadly, my guy Tua Tagovailoa has a concussion, so we're going to get Teddy two gloves under center for the Miami Dolphins. Now, when Teddy Bridgewater's played this season, I'll keep it a buck with you, he hasn't played that good. Is he awful? No. He's not like fucking Colt McCoy or 9-inch Nicholas Foles, who we're about to talk about in a couple of minutes, but at the end of the day, he didn't perform well. Now, the Patriots defense is tough, but they have a bunch of injuries. So Teddy Bridgewater's a guy that's listed as a sit, but if you wanted to make some argument that, hey, maybe I want to start Teddy Bridgewater over one of the bottom of the barrel guys that we're going to talk about, then go ahead and do so. I just don't really see the Dolphins putting up 30 points, 28 plus points here. This game to me reeks of 14-10 or 17-14, a very low scoring game. I don't really expect this to be a tit for tat high scoring affair. Teddy Bridgewater's a decent quarterback, right? They have Tyreek Hill. They have Jalen Waddle. So hopefully for my sake, so I'm not hanging from the fucking ceiling, the Miami Dolphins win this game. But yeah, Teddy Two Gloves is not the most ideal starter, but he's definitely better than Mac Jones, who has been absolutely atrocious a couple of weeks ago up against the Raiders. The guy got stiff-armed into the Middle Earth. It was hilarious. Mac Jones has been abysmal this season. It's very funny that the NFL players and staff, or however they do that, NFL Top 100 voted this guy as the 85th best player last year. This guy's not even a top 185 player, however many players in the NFL. He's probably like a bottom 100 player in the NFL. The guy's absolute dog shit. The Dolphins defense does play bad at home, or play bad away. This game is in Foxborough, so maybe Mac Jones has a good game, but I wouldn't bet on it like I'm Troy Bolton. Next up, we move to the Indianapolis Colts at the New York Football Giants. A win and you are in scenario for the New York Jumbo Giants, or the New York Football Giants. We got the New York Jumbo Jets. Danny Dimes, Danny Fumbles, Danny Stumbles, Daniel Jones is going to be a start in this game. Everyone's favorite accountant, because the guy does look like he should be an accountant. Daniel Jones here going up against the Colts defense that didn't necessarily get pounded into submission on Monday Night Football up against the Chargers, but they were able to kind of easily steer their way to a victory. Think the Giants should win this one. Daniel Jones has been relatively reliable. Could be a top 12 quarterback in this game. The Colts defense isn't complete and utter dick cheese, but let's be honest here. Daniel Jones shouldn't struggle to finish inside of the top 18 and could easily be a top 10 quarterback if everything goes as planned, like it did last week. Obviously, they ended up losing against the Vikings, but that was a really good game out of Daniel Jones. 9-inch Nicholas Foles, Big Dick Nick, one of my favorite quarterbacks in the NFL, just looked flustered last week. He seemed nervous, like the offensive line was going to get him fucking killed. So he played really bad, and I don't really expect him to play much better, even though the Giants defense isn't some world beaters. At the end of the day, neither was the Chargers, and Nick Foles got rolled up like a blunt and smoked. Next up, we move to the New Orleans Saints at the Philadelphia Eagles. But before we could break down this game at the quarterback position, as well as the rest of the games on Week 17's championship slate here, I would like to give you guys a quick word for our friends and our sponsor over at DraftKings Sportsbook. Now, if you're a brand new user to DraftKings Sportsbook and click on the link in the video description or in the pinned comment down below, then they have a great offer for you. If you bet $5 on any sport pregame money line and your team wins, you will receive $150 in free bets. It really is that simple. Since your bet has to win to get the free bets, my best advice is to go with college basketball because college basketball has the biggest favorites. So I'm going to throw it on the screen right now. You're going to navigate to the top left of the screen where it says college basketball. You're going to click on that, and then you're going to scroll down all the way until you find Maryland moneyline minus 1,800 versus UMBC. They are the biggest favorite currently as I'm recording today's video, 11:40 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, as you look behind the curtain and see what time it actually is when I record this. So Maryland minus 1,800 versus UMBC. You bet $5 on that and you win $150 in free bets if your team wins. Make sure that you actually use these free bets because once you get them, they're only valuable or usable for the next 7 days after you get them. So make sure you take advantage of that. And again, free money basically. You bet on Maryland, they should win. Or you could take whatever team you want. They should win $150 in free bets. So make sure you guys take advantage of that right now before it disappears back on into things. We got the New Orleans Saints at the Philadelphia Eagles. Gardner Minshew looked great last week up against the Dallas Cowboys. Now, I know the Dallas Cowboys defense has been down in the dumps recently, but at the end of the day, Gardner still looked really good. I know the Eagles didn't end up winning the game, but there's levels to things, right? There's a big difference between the Cowboys and the Saints. The Saints are honestly one of, if not, they're not the worst. I won't say if not the worst, but they're one of the worst teams in the NFL. Gardner Minshew should be able to easily expose this defense. I really do believe that Gardner Minshew could have a top 10, maybe even a top 5 performance here. He just has a loaded weapon core around him. A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Dallas Goedert, Miles Sanders, Kenneth Gainwell. They have a lot of options. Quez Watkins to throw the rock to. I really do think this could be a huge game out of Gardner Minshew. Andy Dalton, the Red Rifle. I can't stand Andy Dalton. I would rather walk through a mile of glass than watch fucking Andy barefoot than see Andy Dalton play any more football. I'm so tired of this. Dennis Allen needs to be fired. I really don't understand this. I've been talking about this for weeks. But it's like game on the line when it actually matters, when you have to throw the ball deep, Andy Dalton comes out and they put in Taysom Hill. Unless Jameis Winston is severely hurt, why the fuck is he not playing? I don't get it. Don't understand. Don't get it at all. I'm tired of Andy Dalton. He is incredibly boring. I'm done with Andy Dalton. Next up, we move to the Carolina Panthers at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Tom Brady miraculously wins on Christmas night. Congratulations to Tom Brady. But I don't even know if it's necessarily his fault or what's happening, but this team has just been a disaster this year. Tom Brady hasn't looked the best, but I'm not going to throw all the blame onto him. But he hasn't looked like Tom Brady of the past. The Panthers defense looked pretty good last week against the Lions, but then again, the Lions are just, you could just tell they had that crumble in them, like they had that shit game. You knew it was going to be coming, and it happened. Like, Sam Darnold has looked good, so I don't want to discredit Sam Darnold, but the reason why they won is because they just ran the ball a million times. They jammed the rock down the throat of the Lions last week. Sam Darnold could be decent, but I'm going to sit him. Tom Brady's a start, but he's one of those bottom-of-the-barrel start guys. He's a guy that, while he has this illustrious history, while he's still pretty good in my opinion, even up against the Panthers defense with J.C. Horn, I just can't tell you that I'm fully confident in him. I can't tell you that I'm getting down on my knees to give this guy the Gawk Gawk 9000 special and suck his cock metaphorically on stream here, or on video here. I can't tell you that because Tom Brady hasn't been good enough. Now, could he be good enough to score 20 points and have you win your fantasy week? Yes. But is he a guy that I'm heavily depending on? No. Next up, we move to the Cleveland Browns at the Washington Commanders. Riverboat Ron is a fucking idiot. Ron Rivera benching Taylor Heineke for Carson Wentz is a fucking slap in the face to everyone who has to watch football on Sunday or likes to watch football, because Carson Wentz is as boring as it gets. The guy just throws the ball to everyone, plays like shit. When the game's on the line, you really just know that the game's fucking over. It's not like if at the end of the game, the Commanders need a touchdown to take this bitch to overtime, Carson Wentz is not going to throw a touchdown. There is nothing inside of me that will think that, hey, Carson Wentz is going to score. At least with Heineke, you start to think that this guy's going to run around, do a fucking 360 like he's playing Call of Duty, fucking heave the thing down there, and somehow they're going to score a touchdown because Heineke has a little bit of magic in him. He's like Fitzpatrick, but worse. Carson Wentz is not magical at all. There is no Wentz magic. He is incredibly boring. He fucking sucks. I have no idea what they are thinking. And I honestly don't get it at all because it's not like Heineke. Heineke is the reason why they're in this spot. If Wentz played all year, I promise you, they would not be in this spot. Not even close. So Wentz, fuck that guy. We're sitting him. Deshaun Watson, he's been playing better. Technically, if you watch the game, he's looked better every single week. He threw a bunch of balls last week that should have been touchdowns that were drops. Now, I'm not saying that Deshaun Watson's back to being this elite quarterback for fantasy football. He's not, because the numbers will tell you he's not, but he's been looking better. Commanders have pretty decent defense. Watson's one of those bottom of the barrel starts. Not a guy I'm going to bang the drum aggressively for, but if you have to start him, there's worse options. Next up, we move to the San Francisco 49ers at the, turn your volume down, the Las Vegas Raiders. Now, the Raiders decide to bench Derek Carr because they don't want to have to pay him a certain, I think it's like $40 million. Something like that. Derek Carr is going to be the future quarterback of the Colts or the Jets would be my best guess. Davante Adams seems pissed. I think Davante Adams is going to get traded in the offseason. The Raiders are a complete and utter fucking dumpster fire. Jared Stidham is going to be under center. Now, I actually don't think Jared Stidham is all that bad, but if there was ever a game for Jared Stidham to show up, have a fucking great game, not here. Not here. No bueno. Going up against the 49ers, you don't want to be doing that. Brock Purdy, big cock Brock, up against the Raiders, one of the worst defenses in the NFL. I like that. You like that. Brock Purdy's been playing quite well. We're starting him this week up against the Raiders. Next up, we move to the New York Jumbo Jets at the Seattle Seahawks. Magic Mike White is back, baby. The MILF Hunter Zach Wilson is back on the bench, and that is just birds singing to my ears. I don't even know. I was trying to use some type of analogy here that everyone uses, and it went right over my head like an airplane joke. So Mike White here. I love Mike White. I fucking hate Zach Wilson. Watching Zach Wilson is another one of those scenarios where it's like, I would rather have someone kick me in the nuts with some steel toe boots than watch Zach Wilson play another down in the NFL. The Seahawks defense is pretty average. Mike White has been really good. He has a decent amount of rushing upside as well. When healthy, I just really feel like he could take this team over the top. I do think the Jets are going to win this game, and I think Mike White is going to play quite well. He's a guy that I really heavily believe in this week. Geno Smith going up against the Jets defense. This is definitely a tough matchup. In terms of Mike White versus Geno Smith, if I had both, I would advocate for you to start Mike White. I do think Mike White is better than Geno Smith. Ultimately here, this is a matchup, though, that is a little tough for Geno, and that's kind of what sways me towards Mike White. Again, Geno still has DK Metcalf. I don't think Tyler Lockett's going to play, but Geno could still put up respectable numbers, but I just don't think this is going to be a huge game out of him. Next up, we move to a matchup between the Minnesota Vikings at the Green Bay Packers. You like that? Kirk Cousins versus Aaron Rodgers. Mr. Discount double check. Aaron Rodgers ruined my Christmas. That bastard ended up beating the Dolphins, but it is what it is. Kirk Cousins versus Aaron Rodgers. This matchup reeks. You smell that? You can smell it right through the screen. It reeks of points. This is going to be an incredibly high-scoring, fun game. Should be one of the most fun games of the week. The best game of the week is Monday Night Football, Bills at Bengals, but this one is in the running for that, right? Kirk Cousins has been playing out of his mind. Aaron Rodgers has really stepped up now. He hasn't been the double MVP, back-to-back Michael Jordan 96, 97 MVP that he's been over the last couple of years, last 2 years, that would be, but he's still been good. Still been solid. Even if Christian Watson doesn't play, the Vikings have one of the worst defenses in the NFL. Aaron Rodgers looking to run the table, bring his team to the promised land, to the playoffs, just to get smacked the shit out of, probably by the 49ers. But here, I love Aaron Rodgers as well as Mr. You Like That, Kirk Cousins. Next up, we move to the LA Rams at the Los Angeles Chargers. Justin Herbert, the pervert, is going to be a start in this spot. Justin Herbert has really not... Now, he hasn't been playing bad. I'm not trying to say that. but he hasn't been dumpstering teams. Like last week against the Colts, realistically, you might have expected him to lay a pipe for that ass like he's a plumber. But at the end of the day, he just plays decent. And I'm not here trying to sling some mud at Justin Herbert and tell you that he sucks. He's pretty good. But he hasn't been putting up these crazy fantasy numbers that I'm sure most of you guys who drafted him were assuming that when you drafted him, this guy has top 3 potential. He still does every week, but he just hasn't really lived up to it. The matchup against the Rams is pretty decent, right? The Rams defense has kind of came alive, been resurrected as of recently, but they're still not amazing. So I'm obviously going to start Justin Herbert, but I still can't really tell you for sure that even though I like the matchup, and I think that this could be a decently high-scoring game if Baker is able to play well, I just don't really see Herbert really having a top 3 game. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe he's really going to show out in this game. Baker's a sit. Played really well against the Broncos. Played really bad against the Packers. Played really good the week prior to that. So I don't know with Baker. I'm rooting for Baker, but I don't really think that Baker touchdown maker should be in your fantasy lineup in your championship game. Next up, we move to Sunday Night Football. Steelers at Ravens. On paper, anytime these two AFC North teams end up playing, it's fun. Gonna be some crazy shit that happens. But let's be honest here. Pickett against the Ravens defense that's looked pretty good. It's just wouldn't do it. Huntley, no Lamar, probably. Huntley has been really bad this season. He looked good when he had to fill in last year. Has been just dog shit this year. I'm being honest with you. I like Kenny Pickett more than Huntley. If I was stuck with one, I'd choose Pickett, but neither of these guys I really think are start worthy. This game seems like it's going to be a little low scoring. Bills at Bengals. Obviously, the game of the week. Monday Night Football. You guessed it. You're going to start Joe Shiesty as well as Josh Allen. This is the game of the week. This game is another one that you smell it. It reeks of points. Should be very high scoring. Should be very fun. I'm probably going to take the over on this, regardless of what the over is right now. I don't even know off the top of my head. It reeks of points. Should be a really high scoring game. I expect both Josh Allen and Joe Burrow to honestly be the top 2 quarterbacks this week. Maybe they both don't finish top 2, but they're definitely going to be top 5. Top 5, top 5, top 5. I love this matchup. So thank you guys all so much for watching. If you ended up enjoying, make sure you hit that subscribe button down below, as well as hit that like button. It would help me out a ton. If you want to follow me on Twitter, please do so at NotoriousFNTSY. Make sure you check out the sponsor of today's video, DraftKings Sportsbook. Bet $5 if you're a new user on any sport, pregame money line, and you receive $150 in free bets if your team wins. Again, I advise Maryland moneyline, Maryland moneyline minus 1,800 versus UMBC. I love you guys all so much. Hope you have a great guys' day, and as always, good boy.